Good day. The following video is for the Capstone 2 project in the Texas A&M Commerce Organizational Leadership Program. I'm Michael Tackett, and I hope to share some insight of who I am, how the program has impacted me, and how I plan to use the lessons learned from the course material. Let's begin with a quick backdrop of exactly how I landed here. You should probably know I'm a leadership junkie. The leadership bug bit me back in high school when I served as the president of the Business Professionals of America. I was the vice president of our class. I was on the student council. I was one of the captains of the football team. You kind of get the idea. Well, I went on after high school and joined the Navy and moved through the ranks in the minimum allowable time. And it was there that I began to understand what leadership was and what it meant to be the leader of a team. There, we learned total quality management, and we received extensive training on managing people and managing processes. After the Navy, I spent almost 20 years as a business owner and community supporter serving our school district, our Chamber of Commerce, church, and other civic organizations. My first book was The 1 Minute Manager, and it led me to read anything I could about leadership. I listened to audiobooks, I would attend workshops, seminars, conventions, I would go to all the breakout sessions regarding leadership, and just about anything available that would hone my skills and help understand the importance of leadership. Just a few of my personal reference materials are books like How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie, of course, The 1 Minute Manager, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Millionaire Mind, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Leading at a Higher Level, Purpose-Driven Life, Leadership Among Idiots, this is a good one, Core Business, Seeing the Big Picture, Jesus on Leadership. And I am a big John Maxwell fan, so I have several of his books. Your Roadmap to Success, Developing the Leader Within You, the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, and of course the 17 Laws of Teamwork. A few other ones that I have are The Unhurried Leader, Crucial Conversations. This is a great book to carry on a conversation that you wouldn't normally feel comfortable doing. Good to Great, The Leadership Challenge. Picked this book up as part of an executive training at the University of Texas in Dallas. And to go with that are the Christian Reflections of the Leadership Challenge. These are just a few of the books that I have in my library that I refer to. If you open them up, you'll find highlighted material, you'll find circled, you'll find it underlined. These things are things that I refer to just like everybody else would go to a dictionary. Some of the big influencers in my life back when I was getting started, Zig Ziglar, Tony Robbins, Jay Abraham, and you can see, as I said, I am a big John Maxwell fan. And all of that, different types of trainings, and the self-studies that I've gone through, I never thought that a college degree was necessary or that it even mattered. I mean, seriously, how's college algebra, some science classes, all the biased history, how's that going to help me be a better leader? Honestly, it hasn't much, but a degree is required to even be considered for a leadership position in corporate America today. However, I was lucky enough to land one of those positions, and during my tenure there, my mentor convinced me to go back to school. So I found a program that focused on my occupation and moved me into a senior level role rather quickly. Recognizing the importance of the degree that accompanied my resume, I found TAMUC Commerce and the Organizational Leadership degree. As I close out my tenure with the program, I am happy to say that these classes have been very enlightening, extremely challenging, and they will serve me well through the remainder of my work career. So for the next several minutes, I'll try to unpack the value of the classes and some of my key takeaways. So let's start with the very first one, issues in organizational leadership. Right out of the gate, I was indoctrinated with leadership styles and theories from some of my favorite speakers, like Robin Benacasa, Patrick Lencioni, both of which I've had the good fortune to hear in person and meet them for some one-on-one conversations. The numerous articles and materials provided were very valuable and will certainly be added to my collection. Surprise, surprise. The in-depth video project required me to take a look at myself, similar to a 360-degree feedback session, but I reflected on what I liked, what I didn't like about some of the leaders that I've had in the past, and what I liked and didn't like about myself as a leader. And that extensive personal leadership strategy asked some of the most piercing questions to see where I performed well and where could I perform better as a leader. Most importantly, the course provided a deep dive look into who I am, who I've been as a leader, while recognizing the different styles and the traits that I need to incorporate to become better. One of my biggest mantras is don't make emotional decisions. Emotions are feelings and they're only temporary. They'll fade away. They don't last. But emotional decisions will have consequences that you may not be able to overcome. So the next course, the data-driven decision making, affirmed my mantra and supported this thought process. Although I was exposed to and incorporated data-based decision making many years ago, this course has taught me to really dig into the data and have a clear understanding of exactly what I'm measuring, how I'm measuring, and define the results that I'm looking for. I even utilized several aspects of the workbook to help define an investment strategy into a training program for our school district, and I anticipate that I'll be using it again on many other projects. One of my favorite things from this class was the study on KPIs. I've used KPIs in contract language and determined bonuses, but I was excited to see exactly how to break them down into small groups and use them for more than just incentives. So moving from the emotions to data-driven decisions was a great precursor to the next course, Behavior, Ethics, and Leadership, where our inner self determines the outcome based on the circumstances. I particularly enjoyed the case studies that we looked at and the request for our opinions based on the results at that time. From the man trying to decide whether to beg, borrow, or steal medication for his wife, to Ford making a determination on spending just a few more dollars to make the Pinto safer, it was very interesting to look at these cases objectively and decide if their decisions were made ethically. Taking it a step further, in today's climate, I was challenged to think about how the behavior, ethics, and leadership vary and parallel one another in the many cultures making up the world, especially as globalization brings us closer together. We applied our ethics and decision-making skills in the next data-driven decision-making class, number 2, as we jumped into a company's extensive data for analysis. Thousands of cells on an Excel spreadsheet filled with information to analyze, to present, and provide recommendations. A daunting task for sure. Yet, that process enabled me to feel confident in consulting for a local manufacturing business. I tackled a spreadsheet with over 100,000 cells with just the last 2 years of information. This class pushed me to see the value of good research, good investigation, and a good presentation of that information. When leaders are decision makers, they can't always spend time in the metadata. So it's important to have a team of people that they can depend on with the breakdown and advice before ruling on those next steps. Well, the dependence of leaders on their teams leads right into behavior and ethics leadership too, where we learn what motivates people, how to manage that motivation. Understanding what makes people tick is important when attempting to implement change. And we should all recognize that change is inevitable. I was once challenged with the statement, if the grass ain't growing, it ain't changing. And if it ain't changing, it must be dying. And that was followed by the question, do you want to grow or do you want to die? This class introduced me to a man named Carlos Ghosn and his amazing turnaround of Nissan at the turn of the century. Only a couple of years ago, I was asked to make some similar organizational changes in structure and leadership functions of a large nonprofit, and was pleasantly surprised as I went through Ghosn's case study to find the similarities of my actions. Obviously, we had read some of the similar books back in the 90s, but he definitely had a bigger role and much more responsibility than I did, and was very, very successful at what he accomplished. Moving from motivation into action leads us right into leadership theory, where we look at the basic to advanced management through strategic planning, globalization, and dealing with teams. The SWOT analysis was a recognized tool for me. I've used it many times for work groups and for organizations that I've been associated with. It's a great analysis tool, It helps leaders recognize the 4 simple components impacting their company or their organization. The use of the SWOT tool helped me recognize a process improvement for our organization used for the Leadership Theory 2 class project. The template that we used really required me answering questions more thoroughly than I would have had I not taken this course. It really stretched me to think about the different departments that are affected and required me to define those impacts in great detail. I had to look at methods of measurement and determine what success looked like with each one of those. Leadership theory exposed me to the different levels of power and the 5 phases of project management, which I'd never studied before. This takes us to the next course of Leading Change. It explained how to implement the process changes that we recognized from the other courses. It covered the culture, the overcoming resistance, the development of teams, and the transformation of an organization. It took the data-driven decision and applied it to the people of the organization. I was challenged by the depth of planning needed to perform a quality change. I've implemented several programs and process changes in my former roles, but I had never gone to the lengths this course required for me to ensure a good plan was formed. And I am a firm believer in developing a plan and working the plan. I really enjoyed the amount of thought that I had to put into this class with the planning and overcoming of objection through the use of the different leadership styles and theories that it introduced. The culmination of the organizational leadership program is in the capstone classes. The first one required lots of research to reference my thoughts on leadership traits, characteristics, their actions, and their behaviors. I went the next step by asking how to apply those attributes in the midst of situational leadership and show how it all comes together through interviews with a couple of local organizational leaders. It was interesting how those interviews gave me an insight into our superintendent that I had not really expected. He and I had a great conversation, off the record of course, about how some of the administration's actions didn't necessarily reflect his sentiment, at least from a perception basis. And so we were able to have an open and honest dialogue because of that. The second interview turned into a job offer. The gentleman I interviewed was managing 4 different companies. While I was interviewing him, we began discussing his operation at length, and he became the focus of my strategic case in the Capstone 2 project. After sharing some of this with him and giving him some of my ideas of change he could implement in order to streamline his organization and align it with some information that I had learned in the organizational leadership program, he said, "Come on board and help me get this started." So 3 weeks ago, I began a new job, thanks to this class. As the new director of operations for his collective businesses, I can say that my leadership today will be different than it has been in the past. I was the kind of leader who saw a concern, addressed it, and incorporated change because of it. Not so much anymore. I will still be on the lookout for concerns and continue to lead as a coach more than any other style. But due to the case studies and course material, I will take my plans into greater detail and outline every step of the process for the entire team. It may take a little longer, but I believe the payoff will be worth it. I look forward to implementing some of the templates used in these courses, like the data-driven decision-making workbook, the process improvement workbook, and the change management document. These things really made me look at the decision, the process, or change that I want to bring about in the organization. Another thing that I see that will help me going forward is the creation of great vision and mission statements for incorporating anything new into the system. I don't think I will be giving up my books and self-study on leadership techniques and processes anytime soon, but I can honestly say that I will be using a different lens as I disseminate that same information. The organizational leadership program at TAMUC Commerce has been very gratifying and something I will promote to any up-and-coming leaders, no matter what their age, because this old dog has learned a few new tricks himself, thanks to the great professors and content of these classes. So thank you to TAMUC for offering such a great program. You have inspired me to pursue an even bigger challenge. When I saw the completion of this program on the horizon, I was so excited to think about the possibilities that you see, even in my late 40s, I will be the first person in my family on either side, including aunts, uncles, and cousins, to complete a college degree. So I began to ask about that degree and about its accreditation. I found it opens doors for me just like any other degree, except it is using practical knowledge used in almost any application. All that said, I'm challenging myself and planning to take the LSAT in December. God willing, I can start evening classes in law school next fall, so please wish me luck. Once again, many thank yous to the professors and staff, especially Tara, for caring so much about the students in the program. You have provided many challenges, great support, and knowledge that I will use throughout the remainder of my career. So good day to you all. Thank you.